I feel like
Alex Ovechkin gets the goal scoring record. The Blue Jays finally get a superstar to take their money, and it's the one that it should have been all along. Plus, it's a UFC fight week and the WWE Road to WrestleMania rolls on. That and much more as Couch Potato Diary Live starts right now. Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary, now live on the Couch Potato YouTube channel. So trying a couple streams today. On my end, it's looking a little laggy, I'll be honest. So if you guys could let me know if you are watching live, if there are any kind of issues or anything like that. We are kind of just doing a dry run of this one here today. So hopefully everything is looking and sounding the way that it is. But I am back from a lengthy vacation off in Japan for 3 weeks. And so very excited to come back and chat about everything that is happening. And as Toxic says in the Twitch chat, because we are still live over on twitch.tv/primetimepk. What a time to come back. We got Ovechkin breaking goal records, the Blue Jays breaking contract records, and AEW breaking records for the amount of people that they've pissed off. So a lot to discuss on this show today. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. You can check out seaofdead403.ca up in that one there. Okay, so voice is out of sync, so that's awesome. Yeah, check out seaofdead403.ca for that great Calgary swag. And also, as always, we are fueled by Swift Energy. Check out swiftenergy.gg and use the code PKPrimetime for that 25% off. Okay, so not loving that we are a little bit out of sync. Hopefully everything just kind of catches up at some point and we'll be fine. But yeah, let's just going to try to power through it anyway and see how we go. So we're going to start in the world of the National Hockey League, as Alex Ovechkin is now the greatest goal scorer in the history of the league. Let's discuss, shall we? Couple kinks still need to work out. Hey, so the incredible run is complete. Alex Ovechkin is now the greatest goal scorer in the history of the NHL. He now has 895 goals. No one has scored more. He gets that mark in the exact same amount of time that Wayne Gretzky got 894. So take that. But I mean, like, you consider the era that Ovechkin has played in, and he's kind of been the best goal scorer the league has ever seen for a while now, right? Like, this is just kind of driving home what we already knew, and that is that Ovechkin is just that guy, and he is that good, and he is the greatest goal scorer that this league has ever seen. Now we are at a point where goals are going up a little bit in the National Hockey League. That was not always the case, and like you compare the eras that Ovechkin played in to the eras of the 80s, and there's just there is no comparison. Goalies then are wearing cardboard. Today they're wearing military gear. Like it is entirely different, the era that Alex Ovechkin is in, and compared to everyone else that he is going up against. And so to do that here is nothing short of remarkable. And look, none of this is to take away from what Wayne Gretzky did. He has made some choices recently that make you kind of question a few things, but from an on-ice perspective, that cat was that good that whole time, right? So none of what we are saying about Alex Ovechkin is to take away from the great one. He is still the great one, and he is still the greatest of all time. But no one is Alex Ovechkin. And like you look at Toxic here, it's arguably more impressive that he's scoring 40 at 39 than the scoring record. Yeah, it's incredible what he is doing. Like, he's just right now, he comes back from a broken leg and it's 20 goals in 27 games. 42 goals at 39 years old is absurd in a season, again, where he broke his leg. Like, 42 goals in 81 games, or in 82 games, sorry, as an NHL player at the age of 39 is the stuff of legends. He's done it in 61. Shout out the Billy Crystal baseball movie. Like, there's nothing like this. That they were saying on the broadcast, like, Wayne Gretzky, the year that he broke the record, he got 9 in his final season. Ovi got 9 last week. Like, it's absurd is the only way to put it. What he has been able to do. He now has 40 plus goals in 3 of his last 4 seasons. Again, a run that starts when he's 36 years old. I'm 35. I barely made it through a trip to Japan walking everywhere. And this guy is playing at a high level whilst recovering from a broken leg. And it's just, it's a continuation of what he has done his entire career. When you look at it, right? Like it's, like I said, it's the 40 goals in 3 of his last 4 years. He has 9 50-goal seasons. It could be 10. He did technically, in the amount of time that a hockey season usually is, he scored 50 goals. It was just a lockout season, and so 19 of them came in the KHL, and then 32 came in the 48 games that he played in the National Hockey League, which still, good God, that he was able to do that. It's 14 40-goal seasons, and then one where he scored 65. And again, we're not in the dead puck era that immediately preceded him, but we are at a time where goalies have been able to wear space outfits for a lot of it. Now, that's coming down a bit, but you are still seeing guys who are filling up the net as the kind of primary guys in between the pipes. And so he is still going out there and still beating those guys when there is even less room to find in all of that. Again, all of it is just incredible. And when you look at how this was able to be consumed and how this was able to be kind of enjoyed, it was a little bit different because of one cup run. And when you look at kind of the totality of Alex Ovechkin's career, how much the perception changed coming off of that 2018 Stanley Cup run. And like you even now, you're going to have Gretzky guys. You're going to have guys like my dad grew up in Edmonton, or what, not grew up, but some would argue he never has. Joking, but he would say the same thing. He lived in Edmonton in the Gretzky run. And so he felt a certain kind of way about this whole thing. And you're going to have people who are like that, right? Like people who covered Gretzky, people who followed Gretzky. There are people who are going to have a problem with the Russian thing. So it wasn't a 100% approval rating for this whole thing. But it would have been a whole lot different if that one cup run didn't happen. You know, like I feel like the opinion of that, of Ovechkin's career and the opinion of what we saw yesterday completely changes with the Stanley Cup win in 2018 for Alexander Ovechkin. And like, I didn't, I want to say I don't agree with this, for the record. Like, I always thought the talk about Ovechkin was a little unjustified. I thought it was always a little frustrating when it was, oh, well, yeah, he scores all these goals and he does all these things and he's brought the Capitals to new heights, but what's he won, really? He's not really just a winner. He's not a winner. And so if that run doesn't happen, you would have had a lot of that. It's like, oh, yeah, 895 goals, no cups, am I right? But just one run changes that conversation entirely. Because you remember at the beginning part of his career, it was, he doesn't care about winning. He cares more about winning the World Hockey Championship than he does about the Stanley Cup. All he cares about is scoring goals. He's not a team guy. All he wants to do is put up his own numbers, blah, 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 blah. That whole thing. And it was like that for a while. And then there did become a point where we kind of just shut up about it. And then he really did flip that switch one more time in 2018 and completely change how most of the hockey world took in this moment. Because I think a lot of people with that, you could just sit back. You don't have to try to fight this fight. The swords are down. We can just go out and appreciate what we are seeing. And the thing that I'm going to remember, it feels like we're kind of eulogizing the career now. Obviously, there's still a lot to go. The guy could hit 1,000 with the way he is going. But the thing that I'm going to really take away from Ovechkin's career, however long it may last, is the joy that he brought to this game. Like you think back, like when I was at TSN, that there's that clip, I swear God, where he's playing on the golf course and he has that, right? And it's the goal celebration. It's like the one where his stick's on fire. That one's a little lame, but it's the passion that he has and the celebrations and just the that he has every time he scores. The fantastic cup celebration that lasted well into the summer, and he may still be recovering from the hangover that he had from that one as well. And then the celebration on Sunday with the dive across the ice and the sliding and everything like that. And it's just in a sport that any kind of individualism is a knock against you. And individual greatness doesn't seem to be celebrated as much as it should. Alex Ovechkin just stayed Alex Ovechkin the whole time. And it allowed him to really play this sport with a joy that I think more people should bring to it. And so, like, the hockey world would be a better place if more people had as much fun playing this sport and watching this sport and enjoying this sport as Alex Ovechkin does. But I mean, like, think about it. Like, what an amazing time to be a hockey fan. Really. Like, you think of how much hype was around Ovechkin, how much hype was around Crosby when they came into the league. And they were basically tasked with, hey, so we're coming off of the most boring era maybe any sport has had since, like, you couldn't throw forward in football. And then we had a lockout. We've lost our ESPN TV deal, so we're moving to another one. And they're not going to cover any of our stuff. So you two kids, goofy looking Russian guy there, and the trim and proper Canadian kid. You guys mind just saving the league for us? Cool, great, fantastic. Thanks so much. And that's what they did. And it really does make you kind of wonder why it took so long to turn things around. And this is the only, like, kind of negative part I'm going to have around this, because this is a time for celebration. I just talked about the joy that he brought. And it's like, but let me tell you why there's still a negative side to this. But there is. It makes you wonder why it took the league so long to get out of the spin that they were in, because it is very recent that they were able to do that. And so, like, you think of it, when I think of, like, the peak Ovechkin Crosby, the TV logo that I think of is Versus. And that's a problem. That doesn't exist anymore. I don't even know what that one is anymore. That's a real issue that the league had for a little bit. It's a damn shame. You had these two incredible talents in the league playing at a high level at the same time on teams that kind of became relevant at the same time, and you couldn't get them in a bigger spotlight than the Outdoor Life Network. It just shows how incompetent they were. Now, this is very much the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The league is in a good spot now, right? It's weird to say, boy, they really dropped the ball when they just signed an $8 billion American TV deal and had a wildly successful Four Nations tournament. Things are going pretty well for them right now, and it wasn't a complete waste. But it does feel like there could have been more done with the spotlight that these two kids were trying to provide at that time. And now, because of that, and because of a whole lot of other factors, but because of those two guys largely, this league is in a better spot than it has been in a really, really long time. And it is, again, what I go back to, just such a great time to be a hockey fan. Now, it would be great if we could get one more Crosby Ovechkin moment here, right? And it has to, I'm sure he would never say it, but it has to get to Crosby a little bit, that this guy who he has been compared to for a while, and now those comparisons kind of stopped when Crosby started winning Stanley Cups again. But for this guy who that they have always been the measuring stick for each other and always racing along this whole time, Ovechkin is breaking a record that even Ovechkin thought was unbreakable and has his team first place in the East and threatening for a President's Trophy, while Crosby is in another year of mediocrity on a team that is as irrelevant as you can be while having one of the greatest players of all time on your team. So it does kind of suck a little bit, and it has to get to Crosby, and you do wonder if it's a, like, hey, we need to get competitive again, or I need to be on a competitive team again. I don't know if that is here. I don't know if that is somewhere else, but I need to be playing competitive hockey games again. Because it does kind of feel like to show you the state of the Penguins, it feels like the best, easiest path to Ovechkin, Crosby in relevant games is for the Russia-Ukraine war to get figured out and Ovechkin to get into international competition one more time and let these two guys duke it out in that way. That shows you the state of the Penguins right now. That course that I just laid out feels like the easier one than the path that the Penguins are on at this point. But again, like, I'm just so happy that the opinion turned on Ovechkin and that yesterday, for the most part, we could all just enjoy the high level that he has played this game at and the joy that he has brought to this sport while dragging it out of some very dark times. We'll obviously have more hockey talk as the week goes along. It felt like it was going to be dark times for the Toronto Blue Jays when the Vlad Guerrero Jr. deadline passed in spring training. But finally, the sun is shining on Blue Jays fans as their franchise player is staying in Toronto. What does it mean for the team, and does it let Shapiro and Atkins off of the hook? No. But let's discuss. So, finally, the Toronto Blue Jays have found someone who wants to take Rogers' money. If you go back on the YouTube channel and watch the video that I did after that deadline passed in spring training, that is about as sky is falling I have been about the Blue Jays in a really long time. And I will say, like, just a quick tangent. Again, I was in Japan. I'm probably going to reference that a lot. It was an amazing trip. Japan's awesome. But I couldn't help but think, because one of the things I was thinking about when that Ohtani to the Blue Jays thing and he was on the plane, what was all going down is the neck, because I remember in 2019, we're now on a bunch of different side quests. I promise I took my Vyvanse this morning, but in 2019, I went to, or sorry, it was 2020, right before the world shut down. I went to Japan, and you were seeing Shohei stuff then, and he wasn't the guy that he would end up turning into, right? He was just a whatever dude. Like he was an interesting good player, but hadn't reached MVP caliber yet, and he was still everywhere. And so I thought, like, when that's happening, like, man, I know I'm gonna go back to Japan someday. How amazing would it be to walk around Japan everywhere and see that Blue Jays logo right there, that Blue Jays logo everywhere? How cool would that be to do that? And trust me when I tell you, Shohei was everywhere. And he was wearing blue, but it was Dodger blue. And so that kind of got me a little bit bummed out about that whole thing again. But realistically, from a Blue Jays fan standpoint, like, oh, you didn't get two of the top 5 players in Major League Baseball in Ohtani and Soto? Oh, woe is you. Neither did anybody else aside from 2 teams. So deal with it. But if Vlad would have left, like, you look at where the organization is and where just any of that, where this team would be without him, it is very, very, very dark. And so you could understand Blue Jays fans for not exactly being patient with the front office. But for the low price of $500 million over 14 years, Vlad is a Blue Jay for life. Toxic, I did not watch, well, I didn't go to any baseball live when I was there. I am going to talk about my Japanese sports experience at the end of the show, because I did get to see something really, really cool when I was out there. I watched some baseball on TV because it was local time when the Cubs and Dodgers were doing their thing. And the preseason games against the local teams were broadcast on national television out there as well. So I was able to watch a bit of that. It was really, really cool. But to go to it live, no, I did not get to go to that. But back to the contract here. It actually seems fair. You know, like it actually does seem like a kind of, it makes sense for both sides, which again is insane when you're talking about $500 million. But it was always going to be a bit of a tricky negotiation because on the one hand, long-term contracts for first basemen, who at times can be a little bit on the plumper side, those don't tend to age very well. On the other hand, 26-year-olds who have finished in the top 6 in MVP voting twice already don't tend to hit the free market. So, how was this negotiation going to go? You then factor on top of all of that, the shit sandwich of desperation that the Blue Jays were in after the failures of free agents past and the failures of just all of the seasons. It was going to be a very odd negotiation. In the end, the term and the dollar amount seem fairly reasonable. You are banking on this guy being at an elite level for a really long time. Basically, everything points to him being able to do that. What he has done at other levels, what he has done at this level now twice. I just, the confidence of the people around him, like it felt like the down seasons that he had were more the outliers than they weren't. So I feel like, obviously when he is 40, I don't think he's going to be hitting 305 and cranking 30 bombs out of probably still the Rogers Center. But I do think that for a extended length of this contract, this is going to be one of the best hitters in the sport of baseball. And so you're banking on that. when you are making the third biggest deal in baseball history and easily the biggest deal in Blue Jays history. That's just you are banking on that being a thing that Vlad is going to continue on at the pace that he is on. But again, everything kind of indicates that that's going to be the case. From a fan standpoint, this is a no-brainer. We've been following this guy at every level of his career, and he's the franchise guy. And like, just think about the last franchise guys that this team has had. I would lump Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion all into one kind of franchise group, I guess. And it was cool, but it was 2 years that we got with those guys. Really, right? Like, you got the fun of the home runs and stuff like that, but like the real, like, this is happening was a 2-year stretch. And it ended frustratingly both times. And then after that, like before that, it's Vernon Wells just falls off of a cliff. And then Delgado and Halladay, phenomenal Blue Jays, but the biggest stages of their career were elsewhere. Delgado playing in LCS games with the Mets. Halladay and his perfect game with the Phillies in the postseason. And so, like, you have to go back a ways before the franchise guy was like this like big thing and someone that you could really say, that's a Blue Jay, that is our guy. And honestly, the last one who was that, we kind of don't talk about him anymore. So from a fan standpoint, yeah, we want this guy here for a really, really, really long time. And the thought of him maybe going to the Red Sox or the Yankees and winning titles there, it would have been a lot to take. And now you just don't have to worry about those rumors anymore. And for Vlad, it makes sense too. It is a whole country that has embraced him. He is the face of the franchise here. There is a non-zero chance that at the end of his career, he is the greatest Blue Jay of all time. And as kind of referenced before, he is at the very least the greatest Blue Jay we still talk about of all time. But the GWSTAOAT doesn't exactly roll off of the tongue. And I don't think it would have hurt his reputation, like kind of throughout baseball, because I don't think the Blue Jays are that team, to be perfectly honest with you, but there could have been a bit of a, oh, this guy's just running to go collect rings and just had to go to a super team to win and blah, 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 blah. There's going to be none of that now. If the Toronto Blue Jays win, it is going to be because he is here building a winner for them. And that's exactly what you want for, what some people want anyway, from a star player standpoint. And for the Blue Jays, it was a must. Like, there's no way around it, I don't think. Like, if he would have left, division rival or not, if he would have gone and just been like, you know what, man, I just fucking love Pittsburgh. They got the water over there. They kind of screwed up with the Roberto Clemente thing, but they fixed that. So, you know what? Just always seemed like a great spot. I love Steel. So, Steel Town it is. That would have been devastating. Yankees or Red Sox, astronomically worse, right? There's not a whole lot left in the system. The Major League roster, quite frankly, isn't good enough to not have a superstar in the middle of the order. It's not good enough with the superstar in the middle of the order. So if Vlad would have left, it would have been a really, really long time before this team was good again. And that would be a real problem, I think, for Blue Jays fans, because it's not like we've had a ton of success to bank on anyway. But it also does help the reputation of the team, I think, throughout baseball, right? Because the reputation was starting to become that they are going to come in second place on a lot of free agents. And you can use these guys as a team to drive up the price to the places that you really want. And being a Canadian team, you don't need to give people that kind of ammunition, right? Like, there has always been, and there will always be, something about being the Canadian team in a largely American sport, whether it is baseball or basketball. If there was a Canadian NFL team, it would be that. There has always been no one really wants to go to Toronto. You know, like, look at all the think pieces that came out about how Ohtani going to the Dodgers instead of the Blue Jays was better for baseball. And I said it then, and I'll say it now. The Blue Jays aren't nearly as bad as people think they are nationally. And Toronto isn't nearly as bad as people think it is across sports. And I think the Blue Jays in particular need to do a much better job of kind of pumping that chest out a little bit and celebrating the wins. And not just the ones on the field, because there's not enough of those to do that, but like the TV ratings and the sellouts at the Rogers Center and all those different things. Like, you need to really say, like, hey, this is a baseball city. It's a baseball country. And we are putting up numbers here, so people need to be paying attention. And Vladdy can now be at the center of that. He can also be your main recruit and your main salesman, right? Like, he is a very popular player amongst players, right? Like, you look at the home run derby when he's going out there and just cranking dingers. And the amount of players that are swarming around him and the amount of guys who are getting involved with this guy. And you look at that and you see, like, okay, why is this not leading to people coming to Toronto? And it's like Vladdy, there was no investment in him. So, but now, he's going to be locked in there for a really, really long time. So now, if I'm a star player, it's like, well, Vladdy's giving me this thing, but he's only there for 2 more years. Like, I'm there for 12. Why would I want to do this? Now he's going to be there for a long time. So now you are locked in with this guy for a long time. So I think it helps in terms of recruitment and stuff like that. I asked coming into this, is this a job saver for Atkins and Shapiro? And immediately, Toxic in the chat on Twitch said, hell no. And I would tend to agree with that. I have already said that I don't see what the argument is to keep Atkins as the Blue Jays GM. And if Vlad leaves, then he should just follow him out the door. Like, I honestly, if I were the owner, I would have fired him going into the offseason, and I would have fired him the second that those negotiations started going the wrong way because of how important this guy is. There is still a bit of pressure on these guys now. Like, it does give them at least one positive press conference that they can hold where they can't be just the smarmiest, smug guys for no reason. They actually have a reason to be a little smarmy this time. But, like, you don't have the pressure of, we have to win this 1 year or else Vladdy's going to leave. You now have 14 years to try to win with this guy. But you still have to, right? Like, you still now have to win. And this does buy you some time. But again, I will remind you, you now have more time to build a winner around a guy who you just gave the 3rd biggest contract in the history of the sport to, and the general reaction was, yeah, that makes sense. That's how good this guy is. And you have won a grand total of none playoff games while he was on his rookie contract. So the pressure goes away a little bit. I think basically it just takes away an in-season axing off the table and basically buys them this year, in my opinion. And I am lumping them together, and people like to make the nickname thing and all of that. I think it is more Atkins than Shapiro. I think Shapiro, as far as a president goes, like, he refaced the Rogers Center and all of that. So he probably gets himself at least one more GM. But for Atkins, like, you have failed to build a winner around a guy who was an MVP candidate twice while in his rookie time / arbitration years, and you won 0 playoff games with him. So there is so much more pressure now, I think. Well, maybe not more pressure, but the margin for error is smaller now because a lot more money is tied up in that guy. So this does not forgive the sins of the past, but it does potentially provide a bit of a stay of execution, if nothing else. As far as what's next, the attention is now going to turn to Bo. And this is one where I would be surprised if Bo was a Blue Jay next season. He didn't seem thrilled that he was backburnered, because he absolutely was with the Vlad negotiations. I think he's going to get a lot more on the open market than the Blue Jays would be willing to pay him. So I would be surprised if Bo is on this team next year. As for the rest of baseball, it does really seem like the Red Sox and Yankees were banking on Vlad being the final piece to go challenge the other one going into next year. The Red Sox specifically, like, that was a big thing. You get Bregman here. It's not that big of a contract, and we can still get Vlad and still have the infield of Devers, who I think just struck out again, and Bregman and Vladdy, and then whoever the hell you want over at shortstop. And okay, now we got a championship type of a lineup here. So now a giant franchise player is off of the board, and you've had a couple of those come off. So Kyle Tucker, loving this news right now. And even like the Baltimore guys who are going to be up before you know it, they're going to be loving all of this as well. The other part of it is that this keeps the Blue Jays in the big ticket market probably for a long time now. And like, if Vlad leaves, they probably go the rebuilding route. And so it's just one less team to compete with in these types of things. But the Jays are going to be in that market now for a really, really long time. Plenty of more baseball to come as the week rolls along here as well. Moving to the NFL. The biggest story around free agency so far is the players who didn't hit the market. It's been a little bit since I've been on here to talk some football, so excited to run through some of the big free agent dealings across the National Football League. So, the NFL, we have free agency. It's off to a start. Anyway, but the big news was couple big guys are sticking around with their teams as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins sign big contracts, locked up with the Cincinnati Bengals. It makes their quarterback happy. Honestly, it was a little bit of a surprise to see the Bengals spending in this sort of a way because of the issues that they've had at times with just not wanting to spend money. They do have bigger needs, but this keeps their offense at an elite level after a fantastic season. And it is a little bit funny because I was saying going in, you had to do this. You had to keep both of these guys. And now that they have, I'm like, whew, that's it's a lot of money to spend on 2 wide receivers. So there is no winning for some. Ultimately, I do like the move to keep your franchise quarterback and to keep a strength, basically. Were you going to fix the defense in one offseason? Probably not. So instead of just letting Higgins go and okay, you get to improve the defense a little bit, but now your offense has taken a hit and it's not elite anymore. It's still good, but it's not elite. And your defense has worked its way up to average. Now you just, you know what, let's keep one part of our game elite. Hopefully we can kind of nibble at the edges and make a couple good draft picks, and we can fix this defense kind of on the fly. So I like the strategy from the Bengals, and it's going to be a fun comparison because you have the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens basically punting on wide receiver. I know Nuke Hopkins goes to Baltimore, but for the most part, they're not really going big on wide receiver. And the Bengals are going big on wide receiver. And so it's going to be very fun to compare how the two strategies work over the next little bit. Also in the free agency world, I love Fields to the Jets. He was winning games with the Steelers before the switch was made. And I would suggest I would take the skill position players of the New York Jets over that of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So look, maybe New York's roster isn't as good as we thought it was going to be last season, but it is still a pretty good roster. And Fields, I think, is still a pretty good quarterback. So I just think this makes a ton of sense. And Fields, at the very least, is going to be good enough that he can keep that offense between the white lines. And let's just keep her on the road, baby. I think he's going to be good enough to be able to do that. In the Jets division, he's going to have to deal with a very good pass rusher as Joey Bosa to the Bills, such a good fit. Looking for a replacement for Von Miller, the Bills found one and then some. Bosa knows what it's like to face Mahomes and the Chiefs and still has a ton left, in my opinion. So this makes a lot of sense for him. The team that the Bills beat in the wild card round also adds to their defense with the Broncos signing Dre Greenlaw. An injury in the Super Bowl is what people are remembering, but before that, Greenlaw was genuinely one of the better players in the league. And so I think that this is still a guy who can play at a high level. And he is a talent that I think can really step up for the Broncos. If he can get anywhere back to that kind of pre-injury level, then this is going to be a no doubt absolute 100% home run for the Denver Broncos and really give them a force on defense. The Seahawks, I don't know if it's better. I don't know if it's worse. It sure is different, though, this year in Seattle. When you look at Geno Smith gone, DK Metcalf gone, Tyler Lockett gone, and in comes Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp. Now look, I think Kupp still has a bit left in the tank. I don't think it's $15 million a year left in the tank. Although with Devontae Adams getting what he got from the Rams, I mean, who knows? But I just don't think it's a good value for me. I think that this is a downgrade. I think when you go from those guys to these guys, I don't think you've saved enough money to justify the moves that you've made. Like Sam Darnold is going to be a major concern behind that offensive line. And I think people are going to really recognize how good Geno Smith was behind just a putrid offensive line. Because I don't think Sam Darnold is going to be able to help with that all that much. And I think it's going to be a bit of a concern for Seattle this year, the play at the quarterback position. Moving on, the Dallas Cowboys. I think they get good value with Dante Fowler. I think that we had Fowler as a value play when we did the free agency previews, I guess, and we thought the injuries would make him a bit of a bargain, and it turns out that it did. The Cowboys take advantage with a 1-year deal. If Fowler can stay healthy, this is a really good move for a defense against a still very good offensive line out in Philadelphia and against a great quarterback in Washington. They also make a very Cowboys-type move with Javonte Williams going to the Big D. He looked cooked last year, but he's still young and has shown at times he can be very good, and the further removed from injury, the better, it does seem. So I do think that this is a way that you can maybe try to find some value in the free agent market, and it's definitely the Cowboys taking a shot at a guy for his name. Mekhi Becton to the Chargers also makes a lot of sense. They signed Najee Harris. You don't love that from a Chargers standpoint, but it's a career turnaround for Mekhi Becton in Philadelphia. Now going to the Chargers, a team that wants to run first, it's a style fit that I think works really, really well for both teams, and I think it is an upgrade. If you can stay at that high level, it's an upgrade in the area that the Chargers want to be better at and want to play at. So it makes all the sense in the world for them to pull off that type of a move. We'll have lots more on free agency as the week goes along. Now we move into combat sports and UFC 314. Two of the greatest fighters in the history of the sport get one last chance at relevance this weekend. It is time for our Fight Night first look at UFC 314. So, UFC 314 goes down this Saturday in Miami, Florida. In the main event, Alex Volkanovski gets another chance to reclaim featherweight glory as he goes up against fast-rising prospect Diego Lopez, while Michael Chandler gives Paddy Pimblett the biggest name opponent of his career in the co-main event. Also, a very important fight to stay relevant for Michael Chandler. So let's take our first look at this fight night. For Volkanovski, this feels like the last chance at gold. This fight is only happening because Ilya Topuria has moved up to 155 pounds. Volkanovski has lost 3 of his last 4. And yes, all the guys that he has lost to are at the very tippity top of the pound for pound rankings, but still, Volkanovski was there as well to start that, and now it has plummeted. A loss here and any chance at a title basically goes away. Because you think about it, if he loses here to Lopez this weekend, he would have lost to the 145-pound champion, the 155-pound champion, and the presumptive number 1 contender at 155 pounds. That's a lot to come back from. But this is still one of the most talented fighters the sport has ever seen. He can put the aspects of MMA together in ways that very few have been able to do before. And so for him, the path to victory is pretty clear. It's just that it is a must for him. If he wants any shot at being a champion still, he has to get it here, Saturday night in Miami. And for Lopez, the question is actually quite the opposite. Is it too much too soon? He to this point, had a pretty regular top prospect rise, right? Dominates the regional scene, gets some quick, flashy wins in the UFC on some undercards, and starts moving up the rankings. But it does kind of feel like he has skipped a step now. He has fought in the 5th round in the UFC as many times as I have, which is none, by the way. And he has fought twice in the 5th round before in his career. Once in Fury FC in 2021, and once at Lux 006 in 2019 in Mexico. Now, going from Dan Ige and Brian Ortega to a title shot isn't unheard of, but neither of those guys are on the level of Volkanovski is even now, right? So Lopez is going in there to face the toughest test of his career. I don't think there's any question about that. But there is a lot in his rise that does make you think he is ready for this opportunity. So it is just going to be, where are these ships passing in the night? I am so fascinated by this fight. When you look at, again, the career of Alex Volkanovski and what he has been able to do going up against Diego Lopez and what we think he can do against guys at this high level. We just haven't seen it at this high of a level yet. These types of fights are always very intriguing to me. In the co-main event, Michael Chandler also in a must win. Chandler has lost 4 of his last 5. His only win is coming over Tony Ferguson, who is now fighting in the MMA equivalent of the Champions Tour. So, it's not great. His style, though, does make him relevant. His name keeps him relevant for sure. But if he wants, again, that gold back, it has to start now. And honestly, it has to be incredibly impactful. Like, it has to be a gigantic win. Paddy Pimblett is a name, but, the skills of Paddy Pimblett aren't close to the guys that Chandler has lost to. So again, it's an interesting test to see where Chandler really is at this stage of his career. While Pimblett, again, interesting test. He gets another name, but it's now the 3rd fighter in a row for Pimblett who you could best describe as past their prime. Pimblett obviously has talent. He obviously has the ability to bring fans in as well. But again, this is probably the toughest test of his career. Chandler has fallen off a little bit, but he is miles ahead, I think, of King Green, who Patty tapped out last year, and Green just got epically knocked out at the last UFC pay-per-view. It is a bit of a tough one for Patty Pimblett because any questions about him and his game are still going to be there after, or if he wins this fight. It's still going to be, well, I mean, who are you really beating? Honestly, he has lost 4 of his last 5. And if he loses, then it's like, man, you're losing to washed up fighters. Like, what are we doing here? So it's a very high risk, low reward, I think, for Patty Pimblett. But it's a spotlight. It's the co-main event against a big name and another opportunity to get your name out there in a big time way. So again, a lot more to talk about with this fight card as the week kind of goes on. Tomorrow we will have the fighters to watch on the rest of UFC 314 leading up to our preview show on Thursday on YouTube and in podcast form on Friday. Into pro wrestling we go. AEW had a pay-per-view of their own on the weekend and the reviews all positive. Maybe not. But there's certainly a lot to talk about coming out of AEW Dynasty, so let's do that, shall we? AEW Dynasty went down on pay-per-view last night, and the Young Bucks are back in our lives. I can understand not wanting to be patient with this story now, right? Because it's the Death Riders thing was just such a drag for so long. And now this seemed like an optimal time to get out of it. You have Swerve Strickland, who is on fire again. A guy who has proven he can be the guy in AEW. He is riding a wave of momentum. You have an obvious opponent in Hangman in the Owen to get a title opportunity at All In, a show that you are struggle bussing to sell tickets for. And you have one of the hottest rivalries your company has ever seen that you could put at the very top of that. So you can understand why people were thinking this was the time to just, you know what, this story hasn't worked, let's just cut and let's just move on. Instead, we doubled down with a version of the Young Bucks that no one was really excited to have back, coming off of a story of their own that had a wildly unsatisfactory conclusion. And so you can see where people would not be patient with this one. I think AEW supporters would say, like, look, we are now getting into Act 3 of whatever this was supposed to be. And it's really going to ramp up from this, right? Like, I think you're going to have the Young Bucks trying to take over AEW and the Death Riders trying to change AEW by taking it over. And it's going to combine into one thing there. And so I can see where this is maybe starting to pick up a little bit now, but given how underwhelming this whole thing has been, it is a little deflating to have it play out kind of in that way. Another part of this, I don't love Swerve and Hangman burying the hatchet. And I know that happens on Dynamite with the I know I deserved it and all of those sorts of things, but like, I understand it's wrestling and in TV shows that this happens a lot, but like what these guys, like one guy broke into another guy's house and then another guy lit the other guy's house on fire. And then in the match, they both tried to, if you are just suspending disbelief and just watching what you're watching, kill each other. Like it was moved pile drivers onto cement blocks and were sticking needles through mouths into the other side of mouth and through mouth again. Like, and a chair shot that just echoed throughout the entire place. Like, keep those guys as rivals. You know, like they can both be good guys at the same time, but they don't have to be best friends. We can just keep them as rivals. And just to bury the hatchet so quickly, where the only inciting incident was like Jon Moxley is being a dick. I feel like it's too soon. I feel like it's with not enough to kind of get people back, like, buying into it a little bit. It just seemed like it didn't take much to push these guys into that. And you can sell, like in a lot of times, like after hockey playoffs, right? There's the handshake line after. It's, oh, well, the respect you earn after going through something like that. But I feel like, yeah, going through some of the battles those guys had, maybe you can sell me on the respect thing. I think you lose some of it when you stab a needle through my face. That might just be me, though. Maybe I'm just too petty. Like overall, that match was fine, and you really got people buying that Swerve was going to win that match for sure. Omega and Okada, we keep getting the teases there. I think you have to combine those championships. Like it's too many belts in AEW right now, and with no clear hierarchy of any of them right now, it's not great. So I think you have to kind of limit all of that, honestly. And so I think combining those two would be very, very good to do. And obviously that would be a really fun match to do at All In. And this was a fun match. It was a sprint of a match. It was really fun. I have to say, and I understand why people are into him. I'm not a speedball guy, and that is understanding like what he can do in the ring is spectacular. But you look at the debut, and he comes out and he's holding the mic really weird, and it's the t-shirt tucked into the sweatpants. And I know like a lot of this is gonna sound like that. Well, you don't look like a wrestler because you gotta be juiced up, and where's the tan and all that stuff. Like I don't want to be that guy, but I do have my limits. And I just, for whatever reason, Speedball is it. He did, like, there's nothing about him looked like, oh yeah, this is the guy who is going, like, Kenny Omega, you know, looks like a wrestler, I would say. Some people would even push against that, but Kenny Omega looks like a wrestler. Best Bout Machine has had some of the best matches the world of professional wrestling has ever seen, and maybe the greatest rivalry that pro wrestling has ever seen. And then you got this guy coming out again with the shirt tucked into the sweatpants, and he's standing weird, and he does like a crane kick thing. It's just, for whatever reason, that's where the disbelief ends. And if you like him, go nuts. Because I can understand where people like him. He had the WrestleMania year a couple years ago where he just wrestled every show somehow, and ones that are happening at the same time, he's just doing it, and every match is awesome, and like he's incredibly athletic and puts together matches really, really well. But there's just some about him that it stops, the clicking stops right there for me. Otherwise, Ospreay against Kevin Knight was amazing, as you would expect. Adam Cole winning the TNT championship from Daniel Garcia, like that just did nothing for me. That whole feud, I was kind of waiting for it to like, okay, this is where I'm gonna, and it never clicked with me at all. And nothing with Adam Cole really has. Like that devil storyline really just killed any momentum he may have had. And then they tried to make it make sense coming back, and then the way they handled that was so bungled. And it's just, Adam Cole has never felt like more of a mid-carder than he has at this point. Even when he was first coming in, and it was Future Shock, right, with him and Kyle O'Reilly, and they're the white meat baby faces. Even then, they didn't feel as mid-card as Adam Cole feels right now. This is not a great spot that he is in. And that TNT title, that doesn't mean shit right now. Again, speaking to the oversaturation of titles in this company right now. But like overall, like this didn't have the same feel as an AEW pay-per-view did for me. Like you look at Revolution last month, and that is one of the best pay-per-views I think ever. When it's a classic AEW pay-per-view, and it would have been 10 out of 10 no notes if they would have ended that show with Toni Storm against Mariah May. But this one, like it didn't have that, and like Toni Storm was still entertaining, and I was a little worried about what this character was going to be like outside of this universe. But all the promos with Bane, who I think just has superstar written all over. The one shot from Collision where Penelope Ford comes in with the boot and just interrupts everything, that was perfect as well. Absolutely loved that too. So I just think that like Toni Storm right now is I don't have a whole lot else for analysis. She's just the most entertaining thing that's happening in wrestling at the moment. So AEW. This was like, I felt like they were kind of getting back on track. This was not one of those times for them. WWE's road to WrestleMania is starting to hit high gear. So what do we need to see tonight? Just a couple weeks out from the biggest weekend of the year. Let's discuss, shall we? With a little bit more wrestling talk. The WWE continues on the road to WrestleMania, this time with just a couple weeks left until the show of shows. So, what do we need to see tonight on Raw? I will tell you. The first thing that I need to see from WWE tonight is we need to see another level of Jey Uso. I think that there has been a lot of talk about, like maybe he wasn't supposed to be or shouldn't be the main event and all these different things. Like, this started out so well, I thought, with like the Yeet entrances and all of that, and Gunther being the arrogant heel and all of that. The whole like, I don't know if I can do it thing, that has to stop now. Like this has to be the beatdown of Jimmy has to be the inciting incident that gets Jey Uso his swagger back. And honestly, like I don't know where he is at medically. I think Sami Zayn should come back tonight and be the one to give him that pep talk that he needs to get him there. But we need to see now the elevation of Jey Uso. It can't just be, yeah, I don't know if I can beat him going into WrestleMania, because then no one is going to care when you see all the work that has been done on these shows leading up to it, and some of the other feuds. You have to, like, there has to be another level to Jey Uso here tonight. Punk, Paul Heyman, so interested in this. I think that they have done a really good job of just each week giving you a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then finally the revealing of the favor that Punk wants Heyman in his corner. Brilliance. Absolute brilliance. Loved the whole thing. So now I'm interested to see, now that you've done that, what do you have with 2 weeks to go? Very curious as to where they go tonight. World Tag Team match. World Tag Team title, sorry. I don't hate the idea of the New Day getting it. Like, I do like the War Raiders and think they are kind of the long-term thing, but I do also think the New Day and this current form needs to be on WrestleMania. So I think that you get them the tag team title wins and get the War Raiders chasing for a couple of weeks going into Mania. I think you can have a pretty good build up to that one there. So just a couple quick things that I wanted to see from WWE RAW. All right, this one's going a little bit long, and we've had a couple blips stream-wise throughout the night. But I do want to talk a little bit about my trip to Japan. I got to experience one of the coolest sporting things I've ever experienced in my life. And so just wanted to chat a bit about what it was like taking in the full sumo experience out in Japan. So, not sure why it didn't pop up there, but that's okay. I was lucky enough to be able to go to sumo wrestling out in Japan. Shout out to my sister-in-law who planned it all. And they were all hunkered around different computers and phones. The day tickets were available for the day we were going to be able to go, and we got tickets. And so all of it was great. And like for me personally, it was kind of fun to just be able to go watch a sporting event and not worry about breaking it down the whole time. That was kind of neat. But I didn't really know what to expect, and admit, like, I went in as novice could be, kind of on purpose. I wanted to kind of feel it out and see. I didn't want to study up on everything and see all of that, but I because of how quick everything is, right? Because it is like you just set one hand down, set the other hand down, and then it's just like whatever, and then it's over. And so I thought, because of how quick it was, I thought like you maybe get like a best of 3. And then it's this grand tournament. So I thought maybe it's like a single elimination thing or whatever. It was entirely different from what I was anticipating. And so the way it was broken down, and this is, again, very rudimentary stuff here, but the way it's broken down, there were 3 different kind of day parts. There was the prelims, there was kind of this mid part, and then there was the main guys at the end. And they all have different names for them, but we don't need to get into all the specifics of that. But each one, you're basically, like, it's a round robin of everyone in your kind of area, and how you do in that figures out which area you go into for the next ones, right? Like, it's basically like relegation, right? But it's from tournament to tournament, and they don't have them every month. There's about like 4 or 6 a year that they end up having, and so the ones who get into the highest group, that's your chance to become the Yokozuna, and they get the most money. So it's a very simple process. And so even with that, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but they must, like, I looked at the thing, I don't have it in here, but the rundown, like, there's a lot of matches on this thing. So I was like, they must be wrestling like 2 or 3 times in a day. All of that was wrong. It is one match, once a day. And if you have a stumble, if you have a slip, if you have a whatever, well, you lost. And that's your day, and you move on. Or another one, like, if you just catch the guy at the right moment, well, you won, and you're on to the next day. Like, there is so little room for error, and it adds so much drama to it, because it's just any misstep, any missed moment, and you have lost. And you have 15, 16 matches to become the best, basically. And so there's only so many losses you can take before now, okay, I'm not moving up in this thing. And so to have all of that pressure on 5, 10, 15 seconds worth of work, it adds an incredible amount of drama to it. So it was intense. It was captivating right from the start. And so it is absolutely on me for being that novice that I didn't realize the format of this thing, but it is round robin. You get one shot, and if you just get off to a slow start in the 5 seconds that you're in there, you fucked. And it's incredible what they can do. And just, again, like, you pick up on some things like, oh, well, this might be the strategy. Maybe this is the strategy, whatever. I loved the whole thing. And I'm not a sumo expert, but I could not recommend enough going to one of these things. And honestly, like for me, we went to my wife and I went to the prelims. My sister-in-law, aforementioned, and with her husband and their 3-year-old daughter, that probably wasn't going to be a day for a 3-year-old, right? So they came for the big guys at the end, as a lot of people did. But like I went right, we were there right for the first match. And we were quite unique in that. Like, you go in there and see some pictures I have up on social media. It is empty in there. But it fills out. Like, it's like boxing or UFC. Like, it fills out as the night goes on. But I would recommend, like, if you're out there and you have a chance to get the tickets, go for the whole thing. Because those prelims, like, it is fast-paced, man. Because it is, the big ones, when you watch them, like, the way it starts, there isn't like a, okay, go. There's a, once both guys have their hands down, we going. But with the main guys, like, it's a hand down and then, oh, maybe it's down, but no, I'm going to go up and I'm going to slap the belt that I have and we're tossing more sand and we're doing more ceremonial type of things. And then eventually the ref is like, all right, this is the one we're going on now. And then they do that and they go. That didn't happen in the prelims. You didn't get to toss the salt in the prelims. You didn't get to slap the belt thing that made it look like you were slapping your belly and made some children laugh. You just, you go in there. It is one hand down, it is two, and then you are pushing. So like you go through those very, very quickly and you pick up on some stuff as it goes along as well. And then if there's a tie or kind of looks like a tie, they go to this like panel of elders. They got 4 officials sitting on the outside, and they all come in and discuss what they saw. And more often than not, when I was there, it ended up just like, yeah, we'll just do it again. And they have another sumo and winner wins. So it was that part of it was kind of fun. But yeah, I would highly recommend. Like, a lot of things say like, the best stuff doesn't really happen until until the main ones. And you could see, like, there's an obvious talent gap. And the intensity changes and the crowd gets more into it and all of those things. And the stakes are higher because of that. But you get to see a lot and you get to see some fun stuff too in the prelims. So I would recommend going to that as well. The one thing that I really enjoyed, because if you go to Japan now, you can do it without knowing a lick of English. Like, I've been doing without knowing a lick of Japanese. I've been doing Japanese on Duolingo for a little bit now, and I can very confidently ask about the Wi-Fi. But I would not consider myself even, like, if someone asked me if I could speak Japanese, I would absolutely lie, because the only way I know how to describe that in Japanese is skoshi, which is a little bit. Even that's a stretch. But you can get around Japan very easily. Every restaurant we went to, you can scan a QR code and get an English menu, or like all the trains, they have a Japanese announcement and then they have an English announcement. And the train signs, they have the Japanese thing and then it switches and then it's an English thing. Like, English is definitely a thing there, and you can survive only knowing English in Japan. That stops once you walk into those sumo doors. And now, to a certain degree, there is something available where you can get kind of English commentary. I didn't see that. It wasn't readily available. We're just on the path that we took to our seats, and I wasn't really looking for it. I wasn't super interested in it anyway, but it wasn't obvious like, hey, if you want the English speaking stuff, that's over here. It wasn't obvious. And then you get in there and there isn't a lick of English being spoke in anything, in any of the announcements, in any of the signage, in any of the anything. It is all in Japanese. And it was really cool that way. It was like, look, we are going to cater to you a lot around here, right? You want to go to Super Nintendo World? We're gonna whatever. You want what Jamboree Mickey? It's gonna be a lot in Japanese, but it's still gonna say Mickey. And we're still gonna do all these things in English. But this right here, this is our world. And so if you want to enjoy this, you're gonna enjoy it our way. I thought that was incredible. I loved it. And again, like I loved every second of it. Like the crowd, you hear about Japanese crowds and, oh, well, they can sit on their hands or whatever. They were a traditional Japanese crowd where they were very respectful of a lot of things and like clap, 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 clap. But when, because we were watching it in Edion Arena in Osaka, when an Osaka dude came out, that crowd went nuts. And when the big guys came out, and there was an underdog story throughout the whole thing. The guy who was in kind of the bottom third of the top level went on this unbelievable run, ended up losing in a tiebreaker in the final to finish second in this thing. But the crowd really got behind him. So the crowd gets really, really into it, and it just made for an incredible experience. So that's what it was like for me going to watch sumo. It was a blast, and I can't recommend it enough. I want to go again. It was so much fun, and I'm going to be watching sumo highlights now for the rest of my life, if nothing else, trying to follow along with everything. So that is going to do it. The maiden voyage of going live here on Couch Potato Diary on YouTube. We got some stuff to work on, and we're going to. So we'll be back tomorrow. 2 streams tomorrow for you guys to enjoy. One is going to be here on YouTube. I think we're going to try YouTube tomorrow for the sports show at 10 a.m. We're going to be doing, again, some more NFL. We're going to be recapping what we saw with Monday Night Raw, and we are going to be seeing a little bit more from the UFC as well. So we're going to be talking about all of that, but that's going to be just here on YouTube tomorrow. And then at 3 o'clock, we're going to be doing some video game streaming. These are all Mountain Time, by the way. I'm in Calgary. 3 o'clock, we're going to be doing some video game streaming over on twitch.tv/primetimepk. And hopefully, keeping the two separate is going to make for a bit of a smoother streaming experience. But as always, follow me on social media. Check out Sea of Dead, seaofdead403.ca. The great Calgary swag. We've got the sweater there in the background. Some Cannons gear. Feeling very baseball-y now that Vlad is going to be sticking around with the Jays for a while. So celebrate it with some great Calgary Cannon stuff. And of course, we got the Stampede Wrestling for you as well. So thank you guys so much for putting up with everything today. Let's hope it's better tomorrow here on Couch Potato Diary. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.